When death hits, it hits hard. For me, it was like a freight train out of nowhere. When my son died, I realized very quickly I had no idea about grief, how to process pain and trauma of this magnitude. I learned very quickly that we are living in a society that is largely grief illiterate. And yet, so many people are grieving. I'm now a grief educator working with David Kessler. And in this video, I'm going to be sharing a lot of tips, tools, and strategies that I wish I had have known in those first few weeks of early grief to help others so that they can move through this stage. There's no easy way, but easier with a bit more education and be grief informed. So let's get into it. Grief, in its purest form, is an expression of love. Grief has so many faces: death, relationship breakdowns, divorce, your health, disability, your job, you could lose your home, a pet, and so much more. Firstly, accept and ask for help. People want to help, but it's really helpful if you can give them some direction. So if you have responsibility for children, for example, or caring, or just lots of things on the go, which is normal for us all really, get people in, get people around you, let them rally in and support you in the way that you need to be supported, not in the way that they think they're helping. So pickups, drop-offs, groceries, cooking, cleaning, arrangements for the service, anything like that you can be supported with, go for it. Even just sitting with you if you don't want to be alone. It's very useful to just have somebody there who's not trying to fix you, not trying to make you happy, just sitting with you in your pain is very powerful. When it comes to notifying people, I remember in the beginning, I started calling my friends to tell them of my son's death. And I was numb with shock. I realized very quickly, because they would just lose it, I ended up in this supporting role, which didn't help either of us. So I began to delegate that task to other people because it wasn't great for either of us. Drink lots of water. The shock will dehydrate you, and tears dehydrate you. My daughter and I became very dehydrated, but because of our shock, we actually couldn't remember to drink. So what we did was we got her friends on board, and they were great. They would send us these random text messages, Snapchats, images of them drinking and images of water, so that it was like a prompt, and it would remind us, and they were on board. It was a nice way that they could be involved as well, because they were grieving too. Eat healthy foods. Some people will lose their appetite, some people will overeat. For me, I lost my appetite. I really struggled to eat in that first week, and I lost 5 kilos because of the shock hitting my body. I remember eating bananas, trying to eat bananas, because I knew I needed to keep my strength. Grief takes a lot of energy, and so focus on superfoods if you're having trouble with eating. Just remember to eat. That's really, really important. And if you are finding that you're overeating, be really focused on what it is you're actually putting in, because you want it to be nutritious and low cal if you are eating a lot. Have healthy boundaries around visitors. Only see people who are helping you. You will need every ounce of your energy to work with your grief and process your pain. So don't waste your energy on people who want to help you but aren't helping. If people turn up unannounced, get somebody else to answer the door, or you could answer the door and just say, look, it's not a good time right now, and just cut it short, because you don't want to find yourself in a position that you're there supporting other people. They want to help you, but they don't know how, and that can be very draining on your energy resources, which are already completely depleted. Do you like lots of flowers? For me, receiving, because you will get an influx of flowers, and I didn't want to feel like I was in a cemetery. For me, it triggered me even more. I associate flowers with joy. And yes, of course, I absolutely appreciate the gesture, but it wasn't what I wanted. So what I did was I set up a GoFundMe page as a tribute for Aaron. In lieu of flowers, people could donate to the GoFundMe page, and was able to raise enough money. I haven't done it yet, but I will, to potentially get some park benches or plaques or something. I will work something out when the time is right that I can do to honour Aaron moving forward. I also used some of the flowers that I had at his service instead of buying more. And then some I took up to the crash site because he was in a car accident. So I used all the flowers in that way so that they didn't all just go in the bin, they were used. Answer messages when it suits you. We live in a digital world. We are contactable 24/7. And in the event of grief, when somebody dies, I couldn't even tell you how many messages I got. The challenge is the etiquette is that you reply, but your energy is so depleted. Please understand, you don't have to reply, and you don't have to reply straight away if you do intend to reply. When I came up for air, when it felt okay for me, when I could cope, I would go in and check the messages, which were lovely. And I just put in, a love heart and a thank you for most of them. And that was enough, because you don't have the energy to be talking and getting into a conversation with lots of different people. You need to reserve your energy. Talk to people who understand grief. I regularly talk to people who are newly grieving, people who I don't know, who have been referred to me. I'm really happy to talk to you. So please reach out, because when you talk to people who understand grief, who actually get it, it really does make a difference to bounce, to not have to pretend to be okay, to actually ask the questions that are really bothering you and you're really worried about. And we can also be a really great, a resource to direct you to resources as well. In the first week after Aaron's death, I spoke to Zenith Farrago from the Natural Death Care Centre a couple of times. She's got over 20 years experience. She was a phenomenal resource for me in that first week, and she gave me a lot of tips, some of which I'm sharing with you today. When you're looking for professional support, make sure they are grief informed and experienced. I know from my years of experience as a coach and working as a self-directed healing practitioner trainer that so many practitioners, psychologists, therapists, healers, coaches do not understand grief. They are not grief informed and they are not grief trained. This is very important. In that first week, I think it was the second week, when I started reaching out for external support, I was looking at somatic style practices that work with the mind, the heart, the physical body, the spiritual body, to integrate them all together. Self-directed healing is a really powerful practice in that space, working with deep emotional pain, energetically releasing it through the physical body. I had really severe chest pain and the whole lot lifted after my session. So there's many different things that you can do that are natural, that do not require medication. So please be aware that this is possible. Viewing the body. I had the option to view my son's body, and it was traumatic. I really struggled with this decision. It was very confusing. My mind was still trying to come to terms with the fact that he wasn't here. I really just didn't know what to do. When I spoke to Zenith, she really encouraged me to stay open-minded, because she said when you see the body, it can actually help your mind integrate the trauma of the death. It can be a kind way to move forward, help you move forward. She said that in her years of experience, more people regret not viewing the body than they do viewing it. So I did decide to view my son's body, and yes, it was traumatic and I still struggle with that today, but I'm really glad that I did it, and I think I'm pretty confident that if I didn't, I would regret it. I think Zenith was right. Don't give away belongings. It can wait. Once you've given things away, it's challenging to get them back if you change your mind. So whilst you're in shock, please don't make any of these types of decisions. They can wait. And don't clean out their room or their belongings. That can wait too. as a shock response, my daughter and I went straight into, we were going to clean Aaron's room, and Zenith asked us just to be patient and wait. She said what can happen, and I experienced this, is that when your world is so out of control, cleaning the room is something that you can do. You just want to keep busy. But the fact is having Aaron's room there in the months following his death, it was actually really calming. It was beautiful to be able to go in, lie on his bed, smell him, smell his things, and it really enhanced that sense of presence in his room. It gave me a space to go. If I'd have cleaned all that up, I wouldn't have had that option. Smelling, some people really connect with that smell. So I would avoid rushing into any of those types of decisions in that very early stages. Just wait, it can wait. Feel what you need to feel. And please don't judge your emotions. They will swing like a pendulum. They will go from excruciating pain and agony and trauma through to relief, sadness, anger, shock, numbness, and everything in between. Emotions will come, emotions will go. So as the emotions come up, learn healthy ways to process them. Accept that they're there. When it comes to crying, sadness, I love to quote Benjamin J. Harvey here, and he says that cry like crying is an Olympic sport and you are going for gold. With anger, be angry, it's okay, but learn healthy, resourceful ways to express your anger. I've got videos on these on my YouTube channel at Christy Roberts Coaching, so refer to them if you want more information. The physical symptoms that I developed as a result of the grief and trauma were severe. The chest pains, the heart palpitations, and more. Self-directed healing was really powerful at working with this because we energetically process emotions and thoughts through the physical body, and so it releases them. So you are getting those trapped emotions out of your body. Very, very cool. Move your body. Move your body. Go for walks in nature. It's very soothing, very grounding. If you live near the beach, go swim in the ocean. The salt water can be really healing. Walk in the sand. Ride your bike. Anything, move, yoga. Paul Dennison has grief yoga, which helps with processing the emotions as well. That's very good. And even if you don't feel like it, really push yourself to move your body. I didn't want to move. And then one day I forced myself to, I forced myself to go for a bike ride, and it felt fabulous. When I got back, it felt great. It had helped lift the heaviness off my chest, and I felt a lot lighter afterwards. Have a shower. Grief is a really heavy emotion. Like literally, it's a heavy emotion. So everything can be a struggle. Even getting out of bed can be a struggle. You can stay in bed, but I really encourage you, if you are in bed or if you're just sort of hanging around in your pajamas, to have a shower, even a quick one, and brush your teeth, because if you're clean, it will lift your mood slightly. You will feel better. You can go back to bed, but it will help you to stay hygienic and clean. Focus on the micro moments. Slow down. When the pain, when the trauma is too much, just go outside and listen for the birds chirping. Look at a pretty flower and appreciate the colour of the petals. Feel the grass between your toes. Feel the sun on your face, the breeze on your cheek. Watch the leaves in the trees. If you're near the ocean, just watch the waves roll and feel the sand on your feet and appreciate the warmth on the sand or the cold. Notice the stories. It's essential to understand the distinction that pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. I learned this from David Kessler. In grief, there will be pain. Our mind is trying to make sense of what's happened. And so it makes up stories. And these stories add layers. They add shame, guilt, and suffering. Be aware of them. Please understand though, in early grief, it's very normal for our mind to try to process and integrate the shock, the pain of what has actually happened. But in the absence of understanding, our mind makes up stories. So I'm just asking, perhaps bring some consciousness to this, because in the beginning, it's inevitable, that it's not avoidable, it's inevitable, but just know if you're making up stories, is it true? Is it serving you? Is it kind? Because if it's not something that you want to grab onto and keep as your story moving forward. I encourage you to notice the what ifs. Like I said, it's normal and natural part in early grief and for the first year, but just bring some awareness to it if you can. You know, what if I was there? What if I wasn't there? What if I didn't do something? What if I did do something? Just consider that. Is it true? Is it serving you? Is it kind? Because you don't want to get stuck in these stories unnecessarily and create more suffering for yourself. Notice the limiting beliefs. Thoughts like, I'll never be happy again. My life is over. I don't want to be here. I'm heartbroken. I'll never be the same again. I will grieve every minute, every second of the day. Just notice them. It's too early in those first few weeks to do much about them, but realizing they're there, realizing they're not serving you and supporting you can be helpful. So consider, is it true? Is it kind? Is it serving me? Is it nurturing me? Just think about that. Get grief-informed support. So many practitioners, healers, coaches, modalities are not grief-informed. I mean, you wouldn't go to a podiatrist for a sore tooth, would you? So make sure you're getting the right support. Understand that everyone's grief is different. You will all experience grief differently. A good compass for yourself can be, what would my loved one want for me? Or how would they want me to behave? Or what do I think they would want me to do? I use that a lot. Great strategy. Also, in many countries, I believe we are way too quick to prescribe medication. Here in Australia, we have the second largest rate in the world for prescribing for anxiety and depression. That's not okay. That's ridiculous. But it is the model of the world that we live in. I knew in my grief that I didn't need medication because I'd done enough work to already know that there were other options available to me. But if I had gone to the doctor, they would have given me medication. For me, it was about finding healthy and natural ways to process my grief. I didn't want drugs. I didn't want to numb my pain. I needed to find ways to express this emotion and get it out so that it wasn't trapped inside me. You take drugs, you're suppressing, avoiding, numbing your pain. You're not processing the pain. You're keeping yourself stuck for longer. Don't get me wrong, there are circumstances where some people need medication. It's not what I'm saying. If you're doing that to avoid processing emotions when there are other options available to you, it might be worthwhile looking into that. My favorite grief books are, and I've read a few, Elizabeth Kubler-Ross and David Kessler on grief and grieving. David Kessler's book, Finding Meaning, was phenomenal. His website is grief.com. You'll find more videos on my YouTube channel at Christy Roberts Coaching. Please remember to like, subscribe, comment, share, and if you ring the bell, you'll get notified as I release new videos. If you're interested in coaching, self-directed healing, or grief education workshops for yourself, your organization, or your group, you can contact me through my webpage, christyrobertscoaching.com. In many ways, I'm so incredibly sorry that you're here. But I'm also grateful that you've found me, that you've found this page, that you are getting some information and resources to help you through this incredibly challenging, dark time in your life. Remember to be kind to yourself during this really challenging time of transition, and much love to you and yours.